this will be recorded so that people afterwards will be able to watch the replay. And if you didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing, you can hop on and see it later.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Cynthia. As mentioned too, just some really quick housekeeping rules. My name is Juana, and I'm the mentor here at Latinas in Tech, and I'm just super happy and excited to have you all on the call today. Just some housekeeping rules before we start. I know that we're all on the call and want to engage and be excited with each other, but before we start with all of that, I want to be mindful of today's conversation, so be careful to be having your audio on mute. But most importantly, if you have any comments or questions throughout the whole presentation, please use the chat as to do so. We'll have some time towards the end to engage, have our audio on, our camera on. But most importantly, please, I encourage you all to be engaging in the chat. If you have any questions, I'll be there also as well to delegate them to Cynthia. But without further ado, I would love to pass the mic to you to present.
All right, thank you so much. Let me start off by sharing my screen. First and foremost, happy Valentine's Day. I'm so excited to be here with all of you lovely ladies. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us. So before we get into the content, I want to start off by introducing myself. My name is Cynthia Orduña, and I'm a career and business coach. For the past 8 years, my background has been in recruiting, human resources, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I've helped over 50 companies around the world hire and retain talent, and I've coached over 300 people from entry to senior levels in developing their one-of-a-kind career paths. Now, today, we are going to be talking about how you can go from self-love to loving your career. You're going to learn why loving yourself and owning who you are can help you create a successful career that lights you up. So as we move forward, please feel free to add your thoughts or emojis to the chat. I'm also going to have the chat open here as well. Let me just open it really quickly. Yes, Jennifer, happy Valentine's Day. So I would love for this to be really interactive. Please feel empowered to share as much as you like. And if you have any questions, we'll have time at the end specifically dedicated to Q&A. So to begin, let's talk about self-love. What really is self-love? When we hear this term, a few things that come to mind might be affirmations, of course, bubble baths, or fancy, luxurious bubble baths, I should say. Or my personal favorite, spa days. So if you have done any or all of these, please let me know in the chat. I know I have done them all. Yes, please. And a question that I have for all of you too is, are there any other things that come to mind that come up for you when you think about self-love? I would love for you to pop them in the chat. What else comes up for you? Hello from Texas. Doing nothing, positive self-talk, going for a run, time for personal projects, setting boundaries, working out. Yes, all of these things, amazing. Skincare, reading, movies, amazing. Thank you. So these are all great things that come to mind. But I think we all know, goodness, true self-love goes deeper than this, right? Oh, hugging my puppy. Self-love means you value your own well-being and happiness. It means you always make sure to take care of yourself and put your needs at the forefront. And most importantly, you don't sacrifice your well-being for others because you know that you cannot truly be there for other people unless you're there for yourself. So what does that look like? Well, it looks like having gratitude. speaking kindly to yourself, prioritizing joy, forgiving yourself, taking care of your mind, your body, your spirit, and seeing yourself fully in your power. And being that you're here, you signed up for this event, you took action. It means you are already on the path to self-love. For some of you, maybe you've been on this journey for quite some time. For others, maybe this is the beginning, and that's so, so exciting. But here's the thing. Here is where I see many people go wrong. While they're out working on becoming the best version of themselves, taking initiative, learning, improving their lives, they are still out there working in a job they hate, staying in a toxic work environment because it's more comfortable than trying to find another job, overworking and not taking sick time or vacation, and letting fear stop them from following their passions. Who's guilty of this? So let me know, raise your hand or put a thumbs up whether you've been guilty of it now, you've been guilty of it before. So many of us have done this. And why is it that when we focus on self-love, it doesn't always transcend towards actions in our career? Because overworking, toxic work environments, hating your job, letting fear win, those are all great examples of what self-love is not. So let me tell you why this happens. This happens because you still unconsciously believe that you are not worthy of the things you desire. And that belief originated many years ago. I'm talking all the way back to your childhood. So starting from an early age, we all have this innate need to be seen and heard. That's a basic human need that every single person has. And as we grow, our experience of how much we are seen and heard dictates our perception of how important and valuable we are in the world. That's how you've decided your level of worthiness. And this stems from stories you've been told throughout your life. So let me know if any of these stories sound familiar. I have to go to a good school and get a good job. I should stay on this path even if I'm not happy, because deviating is too risky. I am only successful if I make a lot of money. So if these are lines that you've told yourself, if these are some of the beliefs you've had, then of course you wouldn't naturally be showing self-love in your career. You weren't taught how to. How would you know? So you need to learn a new way to truly embody self-love, to truly embody that self-love in your career. So what does it look like when you show self-love in your career? It really comes down to three main things. And that's embracing who you are, following your passions, and believing you are deserving of your dream career now. So it sounds simple. You may be saying that's way too simple. What do you mean it's just these three things? So how can you begin to show self-love in this way? So I know Ruby mentioned in the comments, you have to do a lot of internal work to move past these. Absolutely, it's going to take a journey, but I'm going to walk you through a journaling exercise that you can do to start this journey. So instead of a resume with your career accomplishments, this is meant to be a record of all your personal accomplishments. So here are the questions that I would like you to reflect on. I'm going to go through them. And as I do, please feel free to screenshot or take notes so you can come back to it later. But the questions are, what are some obstacles and challenges you've overcome? What are examples of times when you took an unconventional path? What are moments in your life you're proud of? And lastly, what are moments in your life you're ashamed of, but should be proud of? Now, I ask this last question because it comes back to our feelings of worthiness within ourselves. As a Latina, there may have been times of adversity in your life that you don't like to share. And the thing about adversity is that it can often make you feel ashamed when you should actually feel proud of yourself for living through it. So an example of this in my life, in my personal life, is that I have been a caretaker and a financial provider for my grandparents since I was 21 years old. So they live with me and my mom. And being an adult, I found myself not wanting to talk about my living situation because other people around me, other people at work, didn't live the way I did. It wasn't normal to them. And because they grew up with privileges that I didn't, I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed to talk about it. I was embarrassed because it made me feel like my family looked poor. But guess what? There was nothing to be ashamed of. I learned to be proud of myself and how I have consistently showed up for my family and how I know what love truly means because of them. So there are not many people that can say they financially have provided for a family of 4 adults at 21 years old. That's amazing. That's amazing that I was able to do that. And it shows there's nothing I can't do if I set my mind to it. And once I started to share this with people and really have a more empowered mindset over this story, I started getting praise, congratulations, people seeing me for a strong, powerful person, even when I shared it at work in interviews, regardless of what it may be. I've had people tell me, even in their 20s to 30s, that they wish I was their grandchild, which is really cute to hear. So I encourage you all to think of those moments in your life and change the narrative so you can embrace who you are and what you've been through. With that said, I would love to transition this and open up the floor for a group discussion. So does anyone have a story that they would like to share of a moment they felt ashamed of? And feel free to unmute yourself and just jump in, but I would love to hear from a few people.
Hi, Cynthia. Uh, sorry. So Jennifer, tag, you're next. So my name's Kelly, and a story that I really had a lot of difficulty wrapping my head around and that had a lot of shame for me was the fact that I am a college dropout. I graduated 10th out of a class of 1,000 in high school, was academically prepared, pero no tenía el apoyo de la familia to understand what a college degree meant. And so I dropped out within the first 6 weeks. I have since been able to reclaim what that identity and experience has meant for me as I did get back into higher education. I did continue my studies all the way up to earning a PhD. And it is that idea of resilience that has come from knowing that getting an education was something I always wanted, pero really learning to say that I failed because I didn't have the support or the apoyo, or I wasn't able to have the understanding yet of my family of how important it was for me to do that. And over the years, I've had conversations, especially with my mom, about how important it was to get my education. And now the tale of a first year dropout is something that I'm really proud of.
Amazing. That's amazing. And a PhD. Oh my goodness. Yes. Thank you so much for being the first brave one to share, Kelly. I really appreciate that. I think Jennifer, you wanted to speak next, right?
Yeah, I was just going to add that something that took me many years to stop feeling ashamed about. Right after college, I got a job at the UN, which I thought was going to be my dream job, and it turned out not to be. Just where I was in life, I was going through a lot, and I made the really tough decision to leave. And my parents did not understand at all, and it was just felt like I was going against everyone's idea of what is the good route to go down. And it took me so long to just finally say that I had to do this for myself. It ended up being fine. I'm okay now. I'm doing great. But at that time, I think I was 22, 23 years old. It was really tough. And it took I feel like the wounds of that were quite deep. But yeah, that's kind of my story.
Yeah. And have you shared that before? Within a group of people, in interviews or anything?
I guess with friends, sometimes when people ask oh, what's your background, especially networking, the UN will come up, and I'm always navigating, how do I explain why I left? I think I've gotten better over the years, just saying hey, it wasn't for me, and now I'm doing this completely different thing that I like. But yeah, I think even now it's been 8 years now, and I'm still kind of trying to figure out how I want to word it.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that as well. And also how empowering too. I mean, from my perspective, empowering to say that this didn't work for me, and regardless if other people see this as a success, this is not my path, right? And that's something that very strong and courageous people can only do, right? So thank you so much for sharing. And I see that people have raised their hands on my end. I don't know why I can't see it in order, but please feel free to unmute yourself and jump in.
I think the next one would be Lianka. She had her hand before me.
Gotcha. Lianka, would you like to share?
Hi, I was actually just agreeing when I raised my hand, but growing up in a family a Latino family that struggled with alcohol and addiction, as a way to cope, my parents, that's how, they got pregnant really young. And when I was raised by my grandparents, thank God, but, being a ward of the state, I always felt like I had to take care of my mother, who again suffered from alcohol and drug addiction, as several people deal with in their Latino families. And I always got these really great sales jobs because I knew I could kind of create my financial well-being and support my family. But And after college, I kept getting these other great sales jobs, and even still today. But I never stopped and asked myself if I really wanted to ever be in sales. And it's just like, I don't know where to, draw that line for success, and maybe take a step back and really follow my true purpose and passion. And I kind of just, finally, and thank you for sharing, everyone, been able to say, okay, no matter what that looks like, I still can speak kindly to myself and just be really, really, really gentle and loving to myself, for having that success. So thank you. And
Oh,
thank you for today.
yes, thank you so much for sharing, and also being very vulnerable about your story and your background and your family. I think um, oftentimes when you're in this state of survival mode, and a lot of us have been, it's harder to think about pursuing our passions because there are things that we have to take care of: bills, families, all of these things that just come onto our shoulders, especially not just as Latinas, just, I mean, as women, right? And so, yeah, sometimes we put our things to the wayside because you have to provide. And so that's nothing to be ashamed of. And the fact that you're coming to this idea of, I am now thinking about my passion, I'm now thinking about what I'm going to do, that is such a triumph in itself. So I really appreciate you for sharing that as well. And Thais, I think you had your hand up as well.
Yes, I have. Yeah, if you still have time, I would like to share. First of all, thanks so much for everybody sharing it. I even get a little bit emotional.
Oh.
Thank you so much. I think sometimes I'm from Brazil. I came to United States as an au pair to work as a nanny, and after that I work as an Uber driver, and now I work in tech as a technical support. And sometimes, like when we don't pause and we really appreciate the world and the nature and get in touch with ourselves, I feel that time can go very fast. Like you said, in the beginning, we need to prioritize and set boundaries, and that's something we need to do. But anyways, your question about feeling ashamed, sometimes I feel ashamed about my accent, and sometimes don't knowing how to express myself in English, especially like the corporate. I'm always comparing myself with my coworkers, even they are from United States and from different countries. It's always like something inside of me saying, you need to work harder, you need to improve your English, you need to have a different accent. Is just something that I know we all need to, go to therapy, take care of yourself. So just would like to share that, because for my family and my partner, I always try to be a different person, always bubbly person, but in the same times we struggle internally with these thoughts.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And I also think, getting very vulnerable, you're making me emotional as well. I don't know if anybody else has some tears that are coming in, but I think what I would really like to say and respond to that is, everyone has an accent, right? And I think as Americans, if you were born here, you often have this just very American worldview of everyone else has an accent and we don't, but we have an English accent. And so I just want to put that in perspective too, that, everyone has one here, right? And you are still amazing in what you do, and your work and your personality and your compassion and everything that you bring to the table should show for itself. And the minute that we start, again, really embracing ourselves, getting out of comparison, that's the moment that other people also start to not see it, right? So they start to see how great we are too. So I just want to make sure that you know that you are amazing regardless. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of work to be done, but I'm so grateful that you were able to share with us.
Thank you.
And it's a gift because it means you know them more than one language. Thank you, Annette. Would anyone else like to share?
I can go. I put in the chat, but can you hear me?
Yes.
So I'm also from Brazil, and similar to Thais, I moved here like a few years ago and worked as an au pair and then as a nanny. And then I started going to a community college, and I worked as a nanny full time and put myself through college and then got my bachelor's. But I used to feel embarrassed for one, being an immigrant, going to a community college. Cause I don't know, I feel like people here kind of don't see community college as something like, I don't know, I think it's kind of like undermined. And so I used to be embarrassed. And like when I was looking for a job, like I didn't have enough professional experience, like corporate experience. And so that was something, and even now that like, I'm trying to network and I feel like I don't have enough to say because most of my experience was working as a caregiver. And that is something I'm kind of trying to shift my mindset in trying to recognize that, I literally put myself through college. I got my 4 years degree and like, while also helping my parents who are in Brazil. And it's like, I know I should be proud of this, but every now and then I'll feel like, I don't know, a bit like just self-conscious, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I can relate to that so much. I don't know if other people can relate to that as well, but it's just that there's this idea of what a person should look like in corporate, or even the qualifications that people have right on all of these job descriptions, when in reality, working in recruiting, specifically in tech recruiting, that was always a wish list. That was always a wish list that people had. And I learned how to essentially bypass that by utilizing my story truly as a superpower, and sharing that with people. So as long as you really have this confidence about what you've done, because you have done so much, and that's such a big accomplishment. And not only that, but the people that typically have these so-called, qualifications in the wish list is that they don't have your experience, your grit, your courage, right? Your creativity on how to work outside the box. And so that perspective is really needed. And I went to community college as well before I even transferred. So I really relate to that, but thank you for sharing as well, Stephanie. Any final people want to share?
Yeah, I'll share. My name is Maria O'Halloran. I have 2 master's degrees and a degree from an Ivy League school. And I want to tell the folks who are on this call who have a community college degree or who came from a different country, your degree is just as valuable. Please do not put yourself on sale, or your degree or your experience on sale because it wasn't here or it wasn't at what other people might categorize as a top institution. I worked for 10 years helping students in inner city environments get to and through college, and many times the best path was to take a community college path because it was such a smart financial decision. So don't see it as not being as smart as anyone else. You made the best choice for you in that time, and a BA is worth the same everywhere. Now that you've got that, what do you want to do next with your life? Don't let other folks minimize your great achievements. If you speak with the Portuguese accent, it's because you speak Portuguese. And if it's Brazilian, you probably dance better than 95% of the world. So please, please don't let these differences that make you unique and special feel bad. If you want to work with a voice coach to help you with your accent because you want that, go for it. But don't change the flavor of who you are and what you bring to the table. You are amazing just as you are. And I say this as a linguist. I speak 7 languages fluently, 3 of them with no accent whatsoever, incluyendo español. Así que mi gente, pa'lante, para adelante es para allá, y tú sí puedes. Don't let other voices, including the ones in your head, minimize your great accomplishments. That's what I wanted to say, Cynthia.
Thank you so much, Maria, for adding that to the conversation. And one thing that I also did want to pull from everyone here is that having this open group discussion and having people share their stories and their vulnerabilities and how they're working on overcoming that. Just think about how this made you feel. You have related to people. Maybe you felt inspired by people. Maybe you felt like you're finally seen and heard. And so imagine what that looks like when you bring this out into the world, when you bring this out into your work, and you start to inspire the next person, whether it's the coworker, whether it's the new entry-level employees coming in, right? And so by being uniquely you, it's not just this magic that happens in our little bubble, but it's magic that can happen in your career. So I want to thank you all so much for sharing and really talk about how the point of this exercise is to remind you that you are so much more than what you are paid to do. You are a fully embodied human with an identity, a history, and a story that people need to hear. So the exercise that we walked over, I hope you were able to take a screenshot or take notes, but this exercise will help you see that you add value to every single room you walk into. So as you start to show yourself more self-love and compassion, you'll start to gain confidence in who you are and what makes you unique. So here's what happens when you start showing up truly as your highest self. Here are the benefits of being uniquely you. You will feel worthy and trust yourself to accomplish anything. You'll have the confidence to always go after what you want. Other people will see how amazing you are because you see yourself first. And opportunities that you didn't even know existed will begin to present themselves to you. This is how you begin to call in a career that you love. And not just right now, but for years to come if you continue to do the work. Because when you allow things like overworking to happen, what you're saying to the world is, I'm someone who's going to let someone else's needs be more important than mine. But instead, by choosing to truly love yourself in your career, you're saying my happiness and my well-being is the biggest priority. And that energy is felt and respected by everyone around you. So I want you to say to yourself, I am worthy of what I desire. And I'm worthy of happiness, success, and abundance. That's how I want you to move forward today and every day after this event. Now, when we talk about all of these things, one thing that I do want to mention is I don't want you to worry about getting everything perfect and completely turning your life around, completely changing your life right now. You do not have to be 100% healed to get amazing results. All this journey is about is just taking one step at a time, one teeny tiny little step. And that's the only commitment that you need to hold yourself to. So if you're not exactly where you want to be, I want you to remember one thing. And that is that flowers are unaware of their beauty. They bloom regardless. So just because you may not have the confidence in yourself right now, doesn't mean you're not amazing. It doesn't mean you're not blooming. So you are still blooming with every step you take. You are still powerful here and now, even if you are not fully healed. So very quickly, before we get to the Q&A portion of today, if you want to take these lessons of self-love even further, I did want to share to you Your Story Is Your Superpower, which is an online course designed to teach you how to use the power of your unique narrative to get the jobs you want. So this course, you learn how to become a powerful creator in charge of your career with a step-by-step blueprint. And this is how I've been able to land jobs in as little as 5 weeks, increase my salary by 48%, and constantly pursue my passions by utilizing my story and experience. So the course is $299 for lifetime access, but because you signed up for today's webinar, you'll get $50 off if you decide to enroll in the next 48 hours. And if you're not ready to enroll in a program, but you still want to learn more, you still want to talk about self-love and really think about how you can achieve your dreams, I also have a free masterclass called How to Manifest Your Dream Job. So if you've been curious about manifestation and how you can use it to amplify your career, this is absolutely perfect for you. You'll learn how you can use manifestation and all of the work that we've talked about as a tool to land your dream job while feeling motivated and inspired without spending months on the job search. So the links to the online course and the free masterclass will be emailed to you after today so that you can check it out for yourself. But last but not least, I wanted to hold space during these last 15 or so minutes for Q&A time. So I would love to know, does anyone have any questions about anything that we talked about today? Or if there's anything that popped up into your mind, we want to hold space for you. How can we practice that, especially as moms? I feel like we have always been conditioned to give so much to everyone since we were young. I would say in terms of when you're taking care of someone, especially a child, it really goes back to the idea of you cannot be fully there for someone else unless you are there for yourself. So, if you think about you're barely pulling it together and the experience that you're able to give to your children, if you take some time for yourself, making sure that you're scheduling it, or if you can't schedule it because everything is so hectic, finding that time in between the chaos to say, okay, this is my time to meditate. This is my time to, whether it's do a bubble bath, this is my time to have time for me, and or incorporating your children into these types of routines so that they learn what self-love, self-care looks like from you, and you start to do those things together if you can't find that time alone. Any other questions that popped up? Anything you're curious about? You can also unmute yourself here. Any comments?
Well, I think I'll go ahead. Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer, marketing manager here at Latinas in Tech. I helped, our event manager Juana put this together, and I just want to, send all of you a big virtual hug. I got so teary-eyed just hearing all of your stories, because one way or another, even though I couldn't relate, in every aspect of what you shared, I always saw myself oh yeah, I felt that too. Or yep, that was there too, from every single one of your stories. So I just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. You guys are inspiring one another by being open, and you guys are healing because you are saying it out loud. I think that's something that helped me, through my journey. I felt alone, and I felt like I had to figure life, career, all by myself as a first generation Latina, being the oldest. I felt like I had to have the answers for everyone. But I realized that the more I connected with people, the more that I talked about it, the more that I shared it and said it out loud instead of holding it in to myself, that gave me the freedom and the permission to feel the feelings, to relate to other women, and most importantly, to not feel alone, because this community that's why we exist, because we need this community to be here for one another. And even though we cannot relate 100% at one point of our career, at one point of our life, we felt that feeling, we've been there, we've surpassed it, we've overcome it. We can give each other tips, we can give each other advice, or you can pick and choose, advice from different people and see what works for you and create your own path. So just thank you for sharing. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Cynthia, for putting this workshop together. I was not prepared to cry today, but happy Valentine's Day, mujeres. Keep going on your self-love journey. It doesn't stop here. The journey is going to change every single day, every single month, every single year as we get older, life, as we keep living life. Just know that las quiero a todas. Thank you for being here, and a big virtual hug from myself and the entire Latinas in Tech team. Okay, yeah, that's it.
Amazing. Well, yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of that. And I guess the last thing that I'll ask is, does anyone feel similar in terms of feeling like they were alone before and how they had to figure everything out the way Jennifer had said? And or is there anything else that anyone would like to add? Yes, Leslie says, have definitely felt that way. Jasmine, absolutely.
I was going to add that I totally feel that way. I'm about to move to London in a few months, and I kind of restarted networking to try to engage and see other people that have done it. And I've been in the same mindset, every experience that I've had before, when I meet other people that have gone through it, even just knowing that one other person has gone through it helps me. Sometimes I feel like my brain is just wired that my first reaction is fear and anxiety. And as soon as I hear someone else has done it, it's okay, I could do this. I'm strong, no worries. So definitely, it's so nice to meet all of you guys today. Thank you so much for all your stories. And yeah.
It's great not to feel alone, for sure. It's great to know that there are other people going through the same things. And just like you mentioned, Jennifer, you almost have this sense of relief in knowing that there was one other person who could do it. So I just want to set that as a reminder to all of you that everything that we shared today is what's going to inspire the next person. That relief that you felt and that goodness that you felt is what we want other people, other Latinas to see, because I know just as well, going into areas where nobody looks like you, no one has your culture, no one understands your background, no one understands, the way that you grew up, and feeling almost a little isolated. So know that you are paving the way with your story, with your self-love to yourself. You are going to bring love to other people. And then I do know we do have a few minutes left. So any final comments or questions that you would like to share before we end today?
Yeah, Cynthia, actually, I wanted to just address a question that's in the chat that I feel very similar to, and I think it's positively aligned to what you talked about just now. Betty mentioned in the chat a question regarding how to navigate a toxic workplace and the people in that environment. And I think that, exactly a year ago around this time, I was just starting out here at Latinas in Tech after working in a very similar place that, I was very proud of myself for working in an environment that was there. It was somewhere that was really respected here in the city, but I didn't feel at all uplifted as a Latina. I was really early on in my career in events, so I felt very lost, and I was looking for a mentor and someone to guide me. And the people who were there, who were supposed to be that for me, were very diminishing and belittling. And I was a point in my career early on that I felt like maybe events isn't for me because one, quote unquote, you don't make money in events, right? My parents were all about, you go to school, go to law school, become a doctor, but I was like, I want to pursue something that's different, right? Something that calls to my qualities and my abilities. And all of that to say, what really helped me leave that environment, despite all that was in my mind and my own negative self-talk and all my own self-doubts was first and foremost, as mentioned today in this talk, like working on yourself and your own and learning your own self-value is super important because, we're learning how to value yourself and acknowledging that you bring so much to the table wherever you go in your career path will allow you to not only value yourself as a person, but value the work that you have to bring. So even if you leave your job now and you go somewhere else, always remembering your mind that you have so much to give is super key. But then to leave, no one deserves to be in an environment where you feel belittled, where you feel unappreciated, where you feel overworked. I think that the best environments you can be in are those that are continuously pushing you and challenging you because they know, once first and foremost, your capabilities, but two, because they want to see you grow. And Latinas in Tech offers so many resources too in regards to mentorship, in regards to finding a new career. So if you ever need help or questions regarding that too, reach out to me or to Jenny to ask questions. We're more than happy to support you in that. Having a community too is really important too when it comes to leaving those toxic, negative workplaces. I feel super proud to be part of this amazing team, but most importantly, to be part of this group here with you ladies here. I know a lot of you all here are members of Latinas in Tech, so continue to join our events, speak to us outside of the events too, and grow that community because that's going to be super key in leaving that environment for you. So best of wishes, and I'm sending you lots of love for sure.
Thank you, Juanita.
So much. Oh, sorry. Was there someone else that wanted to share? Or Betty, did you want to share anything else?
No, I was just saying thank you to Juanita for sharing her experience. And yeah, sometimes I think for me, it's taking a little bit of time sometimes to identify, okay, this is a workplace that's not, the best. And are we working together to grow my skills and everything, right? And sometimes it's like, it's like, okay, blaming or so just like, I think it's good to be aware of those, maybe behaviors that are not super conductive to growth and to positivity and such. So thank you for this. This is super insightful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think even if it's not a toxic workplace, if you're not feeling inspired in your job, you need to make a pivot, make a change, because that's how I felt before I ended at Latinas in Tech. I was at an IT company doing marketing. And then I think 2 years in, I was like, oh, you know what? Like IT and my personality, like, don't go. I don't want to talk about firewalls, data protection, cybersecurity. It's all good. Businesses need it to keep running and everything like that. But as a marketer, storytelling, I was like, no, it's not me. And then COVID happened, and then I stayed there longer than I should have because of fear, uncertainty, stuff like that. Then I became so uninspired, so unmotivated to do the work. I did less than the bare minimum. I didn't want to contribute in meetings. I was like burnt out. I had no ideas. As a marketer, I thrive in creativity, but I wasn't feeling it. And then I realized that feeling of uninspiration, unmotivation was trickling down into my personal life. So then I wasn't celebrating my key moments in my personal life because I felt like crap in my professional life. And then I was like, oh, I need to make a change because now my entire morality, my entire body, my entire mind is like sinking into a deep dark hole and I don't know what to do. And then I started to question myself, but now what do I do? Where do I go? What inspires me? What makes me passionate? And then you just like going through this rabbit hole, like, ¿quién soy? I'm like, it's like, what's gonna make me happy? And then you're like, and it's okay if you don't have the answer right away, because it took me a while to figure it out. And then I was doing volunteer work for this professional development organization, that's similar to Latinas in Tech. And just through volunteering, I was like, man, Diosito, por favor, if I can get paid for the volunteer work I'm doing at this other organization, it's like that would mean everything to me. So then when I started connecting with people and telling my story and how do you do this, or what are you working on, or just like, I'm curious about what you're doing, I kept repeating professional development and marketing, professional development and marketing, professional development and marketing. Everyone I was talking to knew professional development and marketing. People remembered. I connected with Cecilia, the program manager at Latinas in Tech. We became LinkedIn friends. We stayed connected for over a year, not expecting anything. And then she just messaged me, hey, we have a marketing opening now. And then I was terrified. I was like, oh my God, this is too good to be true. This is what I've been talking to for almost 2 years. This is what it's like, les digo que tenía un miedo to apply because this role is what I've been manifesting and trying to get into. And then I was scared that if I went through the whole interview process and I didn't get it, it was going to break me. I was so terrified. But in the back of my mind, like, no le puedo quedar mal a Ceci because she's putting in a good word, And then I just put a good forward. I just built up my courage. I sent my application. I had already been doing other interviews because I've been wanting to pivot. So I kind of had already worked up on my responses and planning and asking questions. I had done several interviews for other roles that I didn't get and everything like that. And when the role is for you, it's for you, because now I'm here, I got it. And Juanita is here to be my witness. I have ideas. I wake up and I'm like, oh, we need to work on that. Oh, we need and that feeling, it's like, I feel energized. I was like, oh my God, if you would have told me 2 years ago or even last year that I would be here and I would feel this way, I wouldn't believe you because I was so lost. I was so confused. I didn't know what direction to take. And it's just where I am now, to where I was last year. I was like, it's completely different. I feel like a complete different person. But I had to put in the work. I had to pitch myself. I had to manifest it. I had to create my community. Y la gente that you connect with will remember what you want. Oh, I heard this person said this. Let me connect with her. Oh, this person, she wanted to do that. Let me send this job to her. Or let me connect you to, or algo. Pero it's okay if you don't have all the answers. And just put in the work. Keep creating connections, keep creating community. Don't give up on yourself, even when you do want to give up. It's going to happen. Diosito tiene su timeline, pero you have to put, put in the work también, even in the hardest days. It's going to happen, even though right now you're no sé para cuándo or no sé cómo, pero it's going to happen, ladies, and we're here for you.
All right. Well, I want to thank you all so much for attending today. I've loved being able to host and meet all of you. So please feel free to connect with me on Instagram and LinkedIn. I'll also have my socials sent out in an email. But once again, happy Valentine's Day, my beautiful ladies, and have a beautiful week ahead.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.